Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this press conference for the delegation of European Greens, led by Chairman Reinhard Bütikofer of the European Parliament delegation for the relation with the People's Republic of China. Now I would like to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Reinhard Bütikofer, Chairman of the European Parliament delegation for relations with the PRC. Ms. Heidi Hautala, Vice President of the European Parliament. Ms. Agnieszka Brugger, Member of the German Bundestag, Vice Chair of the Greens. Dr. Theo Stephan, Member of the German Bundestag. Mr. Boris Mijatovic, Member of the German Bundestag, and Deputy Director General of European Affairs, Foreign Ministry, Mr. Gerald Lin. And the relation between Taiwan and European Union, as well as European countries, have seen great progress in recent years, with many members of the European Parliament and individual countries leading the way in support of Taiwan. We are very grateful for your friendship. Thank you for making this trip to Taiwan. We are looking forward to your message. Without further ado, now I would like to invite Chairman Bütikofer to deliver his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Thank you to all of you, journalists, attendants. It's a great pleasure and an honor to be here with you. For our delegation, this has been, over the last 2.5 days, an extremely valuable experience. We will stay on for another day and a half, and we are extremely grateful to our Taiwanese hosts, particularly, of course, MOFA, for facilitating such a rich agenda that we are having. We started on Monday with an audience given by the President, Tsai Ing-wen. We had meetings with ministers and deputy ministers from different ministries. We had meetings with the 3 major political parties, with think tankers, with NGOs, with people from the business community. We came here for 3 reasons. Number 1, oh yeah, sure.
好，谢谢刘执行长刚刚的介绍，那也谢谢在场各位媒体朋友今天出席这次活动。我很荣幸呢，今天有这个机会能够参与这场盛事。那我们的访问团呢，已经来台湾2天半了。那过去这段时间对我们来说都是非常宝贵的经验。那我们还会在台湾再多待个1天半。那我想要特别感谢所有的台湾政府的鼎力相助，特别是感谢外交部的帮助，那安排我们非常丰富的这个议程。那在礼拜一，我们也觐见蔡总统。那过去这2天半呢，也跟许多政府的部会首长有许多的会面。那同时呢，我们也去见了台湾3大主要政党，还有 NGO， 还有智库。那我们这次访团呢，来台湾有3个原因。
It is a fact of our times that authoritarian regimes and dictators of different colors are coordinating their efforts internationally, opposing human rights, opposing a rules-based international order. Against that backdrop, we strongly believe that it is important that team democracy works together well, that democracies have each other's back and show solidarity. And we're here because we're very proud supporters of Taiwan's democracy, which has just seen a heyday in January with the election. Second, we're also here to learn. We're here to understand developments in your country, in your society, in your economy, and in your politics. And third, we're here to find opportunities for enhanced collaboration.
那在这次访台呢，有3个主要原因。第一个是因为在现在全球威权主义扩张的压力之下，这已经严重的影响了世界各地的人权，还有我们现在的法治社会。那我相信呢，我们作为坚信民主阵营的一块，我们所有民主政体呢，必须要互相扶持，团结一致。那我们呢，也是台湾民主非常热衷的支持者，尤其是我们看到今年1月台湾顺利举办大选，所以希望来到这里可以支持台湾的民主。那第2个原因呢，就是想要来台湾学习。我们知道台湾呢最近的经济、还有政治、还有整个台湾社会都蓬勃发展，我们希望可以来这里更加认识台湾蓬勃的民族。那第3个原因呢，就是希望来到台湾找寻更多的机会，去看我们双边之间呢还有哪一些领域可以共同努力。
When we met President Tsai on Monday, I said that Taiwan has won many new friends around Europe over the last couple of years. That was not just a polite compliment. That was really describing a transformation in the political relationship. 5 years ago, the European Parliament had not even had yet a single debate that had Taiwan in the headline. In the meantime, the European Parliament engaged heavily in fostering the relationship.
在周一我们与蔡总统会面的时候呢，我特别提到蔡总统过去几年呢，已经帮台湾在欧洲呢赢得许多新的朋友。那我们这么说呢，并不是只是单纯想要抬举蔡总统，而是我们双边的政治关系呢，真的出现了一些良性的变化。那过去呢，我们欧盟开始出现了一些讨论，那是跟台湾有关的议题。那我们欧洲议会对于这个议题呢，是相对支持台湾。
And I want to say it in simple words. Taiwan is for us a trusted, a valuable, a very respected partner. We understand that Taiwan brings a lot to the table of which we also benefit. And I'm not only speaking about economic relations, even though you probably are aware of the fact that many Europeans now have learned the 4 letters TSMC. But I'm also talking about other dimensions of our shared values and shared interests. And I dare say that the European Union has an active interest in the peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and in the solid and resilient development of Taiwan's democracy.
那我在这边呢，想要简单的说，台湾对于欧盟来说是个值得信赖而且非常正式的盟友。我们全球现在都知道，跟台湾的关系影响着欧盟的绝对利益。那我们希望跟台湾的关系不只有聚焦在经济的面向而已。虽然现在全世界是应该说欧盟呢都知道台湾有一个重要的公司就是台积电。那我们希望可以拓展呢台湾跟欧盟在其他面向的关系，那这些都跟我们欧盟的价值还有利益是息息相关。欧盟呢，我们也主要希望可以维持台海的和平稳定，同时呢，也可以促进台湾的民主继续蓬勃发展。
Vice President-elect Xiaobi Kim just visited Brussels and the European Parliament, and we were very happy to be able to receive her and to meet her and talk to her in the European Parliament, including in a session of the Foreign Relations Committee. But in our conversations, also with representatives from other parties like Ko-wen-je or Vice Chair Xia from the KMT, they expressed also an interest in the Taiwan-Europe relations. And I would like to emphasize that we are very much in favor of pushing 3 different P2P relations: people to people, party to party, and parliament to parliament.
日前，台湾的萧美琴副总统当选人拜访比利时，那我们也跟欧洲议会的成员有碰面。那我们欧洲议会呢也很开心的能够亲自接见萧副总统当选人。那其中还有一个会面是跟欧洲议会的外委会成员。那我们这次来到台湾呢，也跟其他台湾主要政党的领袖有会面，包含柯文哲主席，还有国民党的副主席。那我们都一致同意，台湾跟欧盟之间的关系至关重要。那我们欧洲绿党这次来到台湾，希望可以促成3个 P2P 的合作。这3个 P 分别是人与人、政党与政党，还有立院对国会。
So let me finish by stating one very important political priority in our Taiwan relations. We don't just want to look at Taiwan through the prism of cross-strait relations. We want to cooperate with Taiwan in its own right, in its diversity, in its vibrancy, and in its hopefulness. Thank you.
那最后呢，我想要简单的说一下我们对于台欧之间的这个政治的议程规划。我们最近看台湾，不单单只是从两岸的这个角度来看待台湾，我们是希望可以跟台湾有更多深入的合作，因为我们跟台湾有共享的这些多元文化，还有台湾蓬勃民主，以及我们共同对未来有的高度的希望。谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Butikofer. Now I would like to invite Mr. Hautala to address the audience.
You mean Mrs. Hautala, perhaps? Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Heidi Hautala, Vice President of the European Parliament for the Greens. And I'm the second Vice President of the European Parliament visiting Taiwan. The first one was my former colleague Nicola Beer, who was here in the summer of 2022 and was completely taken by the excellence of your country in so many ways. So it's an honor to be here, and I want to make 2 very different points. One is that, of course, many of the discussions, if not all, have circled around security. And security is now, globally speaking, a topic that everyone is paying attention to, because the global security is threatened, and on the European continent it's the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and we are very grateful for Taiwanese people to have shown their support to Ukrainian people and Ukraine in general. But then there is the question of oh, sorry. yeah, it's easy to get carried away. Yeah, yes.
各位媒体朋友、各位长官，大家午安。那我是代表绿党的欧洲议会的副议长。那我是第2个欧洲议会的副议长拜访台湾。那先前的是我的同事 Nicholas Bear， 他曾在2022年的夏天访台。那据他所说，他在那次来访学到了非常的多。好，那今天呢，我也非常荣幸呢，能够亲自参与这场活动，也亲自访台。 那我想要跟各位讨论2个我们这边的想法。第一个是我们目前在台湾的大多数的讨论都聚焦在安全的议题上，尤其是现在世界各地呢都在看我们全球的安全议题，因为目前我们的全球安全呢受到严重的威胁，特别是在欧洲大陆上呢，目前还可以看到俄罗斯对乌克兰的大规模进犯乌克兰。那我们想要借此机会特别感谢台湾以及台湾人民支持乌克兰。
And then there is this question of looking at some parallels. I come from a small European country called Finland, which has a 1,300 kilometer long land border against Russia. And of course, here in Taiwan, we are very close to the People's Republic of China. Now, it's interesting that the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has just asked the former Finnish President, Sauli Niinistö, to draw some lessons for all of Europe from the experience of such a small country like Finland, having survived for centuries next to an expansive neighbor, and also kept her independence in the war. So I would like to explain a little bit what this lesson is about.
那第2个我想要讨论的议题呢，是我其实是来自一个相对规模比较小的国家，我来自芬兰。那我们距离俄罗斯的距离呢，大概只有1300公里左右。那就像是台湾距离中华人民共和国也非常的近。那我们欧洲执委会的主席呢，曾经跟我们芬兰的总理提过，希望可以好好的学习我们芬兰的做法，知道说小国到底要怎么样继续让我们国家持续的存续下去，特别是在充满战事的时候，我们小国也可以继续屹立不摇。
So as this is the time when military preparedness is far from being enough, important as such, of course, but there is now the question of a more comprehensive security culture, and that's what the Finnish president has now tasked to draw for Europe. And I believe very much that perhaps these are something that also could interest Taiwan. Taiwan is also speaking about the need of a new alertedness, new preparedness, comprising the whole of society.
所以这也是为什么我们芬兰的总理呢，目前呢是负责欧盟订定相关安全议题的这个职位。那我们现在的问题不单单只是说要怎么去看待这个安全的议题，那我们需要有更高层面的角度来看。那我认为呢，这些东西对台湾来说可能也至关重要，因为台湾呢现在呢也是必须要重新的以整个社会作为一体去思考该如何备战。
So I believe that here is one more area where Taiwan and Europe, also Taiwan and the smaller EU member states like Finland and the Baltic states could cooperate in a very fruitful way. Thank you.
所以我认为呢，这个领域呢，是台湾跟欧盟，甚至是比较小的国家，像是台湾跟波罗的海的3个国家，以及北欧小国之间呢，可以有更多的合作的地方。谢谢。
Yeah, thank you, Vice President. And now I would like to invite Ms. Brugger to say a few words.
Thank you very much. For this time was my first visit to Taiwan. I can say it was really amazing and enlightening, and I can promise it will not be my last visit in Taiwan. Germany and Taiwan maintain close and good relations in many areas, but we want, as Reinhard Bütikofer said, to enhance cooperation. And the foundation for our cooperation is not only because of our shared values, our strong belief in human rights and democracy, peace, and our international rule-based order.
谢谢。这次呢，其实是我第一次来访台湾。那我必须说，这次经验真的非常的棒。那我相信我未来一定还会有机会再次造访台湾。那德国跟台湾之间的关系一直都非常的不错。那在许多领域呢，也有很多的合作。 那我们也希望未来呢，可以在议会部分呢，可以有更多的合作交流。那双边的关系呢，不仅仅只是在人权、民主还有国际法治上面呢，合作，我们双边还有很多共享的价值。
And all of us really are convinced that we have common interests and that strengthening and deepening our cooperation would be to our mutual benefit. This German government is the first German government who stated very clearly and repeated many times that it supports the relevant participation of democratic Taiwan in international organizations. It also advocates the inclusion of the Taiwanese civil society in the activities of the United Nations and its specialized agencies vis-à-vis the UN General Secretariat. And also, this German government made it very clear that any change of the status quo in the Taiwan Strait must be peaceful and mutually agreed. A military escalation, and I think this is very, very clear, would also affect our German and European interests.
那我们跟台湾呢有许多共享的利益，还有共享的价值。那现在的德国政府呢是第一个政府呢愿意公开的多次表明，我们支持民主台湾可以更积极的参与国际。那同时呢，我们德国政府也支持台湾可以台湾民间的社会呢能够加入联合国还有以下的专门机构。同时呢，德国政府呢也很明确的表明，希望两岸之间的议题呢必须要透过和平的方式，而且双方呢都一致同意才能解决，不是诉诸武力。任何一方动武，对于欧盟或是对于德国来说都不会有好处。
And I'm really looking forward to our new Indo-Pacific deployment after the last one in 2021. This year, our Navy and our Air Force will come back to the Indo-Pacific. And as the last time, this time the mission is the same, showing the flag. It is a mission of diplomacy and of security policy, which has the aim to perform joint exercises with our many partners and friends in the Indo-Pacific region.
那我们也期待未来呢，可以在印太地区呢有一些新的做法。那我们德国未来会跟盟友合作，一起加入在印太地区的联合军演。那希望呢，可以让我们的旗子可以透过安全，还有在外交的场域飘扬。
And there are many fields where we can strengthen our cooperation. Let me, for example, name energy cooperation, because I think we still underestimate the security dimension of renewable energies, because they make us more secure, they make us independent from others, and we learned as well that Taiwan will need more energy, and so renewable energy will help not only creating prosperity and modernizing the economy, they also can make Taiwan more secure, and we were looking very hopefully forward to strengthen the cooperation in this field.
那还有许多的领域是我们双边可以更多合作，像是在能源的领域上，特别是在我们使用再生能源对于国家安全的这个议题上。再生能源可以让我们变得更加独立自主，而且是有更安全的能源来源。我相信未来台湾会需要更多的能源，而再生能源呢，就可以扮演关键的角色，来促进台湾更进一步的工业化，还有台湾未来的安全还有繁荣稳定。
And as this year had been called the make and break year for democracy, Taiwan did a very successful kick-off and really showed itself as a role model for democracy. And this is also something that is very clear to me, that Germany can learn a lot from Taiwan. When we heard what you do for strengthening information integrity, for tackling disinformation, we really got some inspiring ideas we will take back to Germany. Thank you for that.
那我们都知道，今年呢，对于全球民主阵营来说是个重要的民主选举年，而台湾呢首当其冲，台湾呢是扮演领头羊的角色，举办了第一场是台湾的大选，台湾呢也设立了非常高的标准，作为一个民主的模范生。那很显然，我们德国有很多可以向台湾学习的地方。那我这次来访呢，也学到台湾对抗假消息方面的努力，那这些呢都是我们可以带回去德国的宝贵经验。谢谢。
Thank you, Ms. Brugger. So now I will open the floor to questions. So if you have questions, please raise your hand, and before you present your question, tell everybody your name and the medium you belong to. Thank you. 中央社。
Hi, Mr. Chairman. I'm Henry from Central News Agency of Taiwan. And my question is, as you mentioned, there's a lot of cooperation area that Taiwan and Europe can work together. But, Taiwan political environment is quite competitive, especially in Congress. So I know you guys have met with the Vice President-elect Xiao last night. And so is there anything topic you want to focus on and further cooperation with the next government and Congress in Taiwan? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think it would be a bit overly hasty if I would try to identify the priorities for the collaboration before incoming President Lai has been able to outline the agenda of his government, and before the legislative yuan has been able to look at that, to maybe comment on that. The collaboration must not be top-down, it must be bottom-up. And there are issues on which we have collaborated in the past. Agnieszka Brugger just mentioned one, which is countering information manipulation and cognitive warfare. She mentioned another one, energy. I would add trade. I think there are many opportunities, and the Taiwanese representative in Brussels, Roy Chun Lee, who is a very renowned economist, has put forward a couple of ideas. We have put forward a couple of ideas pertaining, for instance, to a possible resilient supply chain agreement. There are possibilities in trusted connectivity endeavors. The European Union is pursuing a connectivity policy under the name of the Global Gateway Initiative. We are cooperating in that regard with the Japanese, with the Indians, with ASEAN, with Australia. We could also cooperate with Taiwan. But let's not put the cart before the horse. So first we hear from President-elect Lai and from the legislative yuan, and then we start going for it.
谢谢媒体的提问哦。那我认为呢，我来讨论说，目前台湾跟欧盟之间有什么合作呢？可能有点操之过急，因为我们可能要先等赖总统就任之后，然后才可以知道他的政策优先顺序为何。那我们同时呢，也尊重台湾立法院的政策的安排。那我认为呢，我们双边的合作呢，不应该是由上而下的制定，而是应该由下而上。而且我们在过去呢这段时间内，已经看到在许多议题上，双边都有不错的合作结果。就像刚刚我同事有提到， 关于对抗这个认知战啊，还有假讯息。那刚刚还有提到另外一个就是能源的合作。那第三个我认为可以合作的地方呢是在双边的贸易上。驻欧盟的台湾代表李纯大使曾经有跟我们讨论过，那我认为呢，他是一个非常顶尖的经济专家。那我们之前讨论到的是要如何打造更具有韧性的供应链。那我也认为呢，我们还有很大的潜力，因为台湾是我们非常信任的盟友。那我们必须要大家团结一致，打造一个可以互信的连结。那我们也有一个全球框架下的合作，像是欧盟跟日本、印度、澳洲以及东南亚国协等国家都有许多的合作，所以未来呢，也希望可以让台湾纳入我们这个合作的框架之下。那当然，我们目前要先做的事情是等赖总统上任之后，就再听听看立法院有什么政策的安排，接下来才是我们讨论双边的合作。谢谢。
Mark.
Thank you. I'm Mark from United Daily News. Welcome to Taiwan. My first question is that because the People's Republic of China, the European countries and Taiwan has been operating on an unofficial basis for the diplomatic relationship. So, and I'm glad you mentioned 3P, peoples to people, party to party and parliament to parliament. And do you think that's a sufficient substitute to our official diplomatic relationship? And also, because the United States election is coming up, and if U.S. turns back to isolationism, do you think that would affect or impact Europeans' decisions to be more familiar with Taiwan or the cross-strait issues? Thank you.
Well, I would certainly insist that us Europeans were not turning towards isolationism. And I'm not sure yet that the US will. Wait for the first Tuesday in November. But beyond that, I mean, the fact that Taiwan and most of the countries around the globe, including in Europe, have no official diplomatic relation is not a new fact. That has been around for, 45 years? And for a long while, I would say the discussion centered only, or to a large degree, on counting the number of diplomatic allies that Taiwan has officially. And there's no way of denying that that number has dwindled. But I think we would be ignoring reality if that would be the only measure by which we would judge the connectedness and the support for Taiwan. When you look at the relations beyond formal diplomatic relations, they have improved a lot. And in particular, over the last 8 years, I would think a lot of inroads have been made. We have noticed around Europe that Taiwan shows a keener interest in the European relations than it might have had shown before that. And we have reciprocated. And when I spoke about the European Parliament, that was maybe in a way selfish because we are from the European Parliament, but you could also look at the member states. Lithuania has no diplomatic relations with Taiwan, but Lithuania has vastly improved the relationship. The Czech Republic has no diplomatic relations, but it has improved the relationship. Germany, just the same. The German government just last year took the initiative for the creation of a new Germany-Taiwan dialogue platform that was negotiated between the Taiwan representation in Berlin and the German Institute here in Taipei, and that will have its first official meeting in May. So there are increasing relations, intensifying relations, broadening relations. So I think if we just look backwards, that might not be the adequate attitude.
那我希望呢，欧洲呢不会转向采取比较孤立的政策。那我们现在也还不知道美国是否会采取这样的政策，可能还是要等到11月的总统大选过后才会知道。那虽然说台湾跟世界上大多数的国家呢都没有正式的邦交关系，那这个也不是一个新的事实了，过去40-50年来都是这个样子。那长期以来呢，我们过去的讨论呢，都是聚焦在去计算台湾到底有多少个有正式邦交关系的邦交国。那我们也都知道这个数量呢是在逐年下降，但是呢，我们并不能只用这一个事实去测量说台湾跟世界的连结到底有多高，有多少人支持台湾，这个数字并不公平。那我们可以看到这几年来，特别是在过去8年，台湾跟欧洲的关系呢有显著的成长，而且呢，欧洲现在也认为台湾是对欧盟来说有主要利益的一个伙伴，所以我们欧盟呢也希望可以跟台湾提出更多的互惠合作。好比说，我们可以看到，在立陶宛，虽然说立陶宛跟台湾也没有正式邦交，但是台立两边呢的这个关系呢，也是不断的升温。那还有捷克也是一个很好的例子。那对于我们德国来说呢，去年我们德国政府呢，就是透过台湾驻德的代表处以及德国在台协会呢协商，那我们成立了台德民间论坛。那这是一个新的方式呢，来促进双边可以有更多的合作交流。那这一次这个论坛呢，也即将在今年5月要正式的来举办第1次的会晤。那上面的这些种种例子呢，都是我们双边关系急剧升温的很好的例子。所以我们不应该纠结于过去，不断的回头看待。
Ben.
Thank you. I'm Ben Blanchard from Reuters. Taiwan is obviously very grateful for visits like yours. There have been a lot of European visitors, and you come and you talk about people-to-people exchanges, connectivity, things like that. Taiwan has wanted a bilateral investment agreement with Europe for many years. EU won't give it. Taiwan says, okay, fine, if you don't give us a BIA, something else. European countries don't seem to want to give that either. And on weapons sales, Europe has not sold substantial amounts of weapons to Taiwan for something like 30 years. So my question is, should the EU be much bolder in its support for Taiwan, including granting Taiwan some kind of trade agreement or the bilateral investment agreement, and should European countries start selling weapons to Taiwan, considering the existential threat that Taiwan faces from its giant neighbor, China? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I like your questions a lot. And I take them, I see mainly 2 questions, and I take them separately. Regarding trade, the European Parliament as an institution has supported the request that there should be a bilateral investment agreement with vast majorities, more than 2 or 3 times. We have been in Taiwan's camp in that regard for many years.
那谢谢这位记者的提问哦，我蛮喜欢你的问题的。那我认为您刚刚提的问题应该是2个非常不同的题目，所以我就分开来回答。第一个呢，我们先讲到双边的贸易。事实上呢，我们欧洲议会呢是非常支持台湾跟欧盟之间的双边贸易双边投资协议。那我们也投票同意通过采取这个法案2到3次了，但是这是目前的状况。
but several of us, just the same as people at MOFA, have come to the conclusion that we have pursuing the wrong priority. There's a saying in the US that goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And investment has been quite easily possible into Taiwan from Europe. The European FDI into Taiwan amounts to roughly 25% of Taiwan's FDI altogether. In the past, there was not a lot of investment from Taiwan into Europe, but that is catching up now, as you well know. So investment is not the sore point. And there was a promise in 2015 in a document called Trade for All, published by the European Commission, that there might be a BIA in the future, but that was at a time when everybody still assumed that the so-called Comprehensive Agreement on Investment would be finalized before we get there.
但是呢，就像是外交部的同仁，还有我们自己那边也有相关的讨论，认为呢，投资并不是我们现在最重要的优先事项。就像美国呢有一句俗谚，东西还没坏，就别急着修。目前欧盟对于台湾的投资非常的简单，目前全台湾的外国直接投资的这个总额当中，有1/4都是来自欧盟。那过去呢，台湾对欧盟的投资可能没那么高，不过最近呢，这个投资额也逐年攀升，所以我认为目前投资呢，并不是双边合作的主要重点。那我们欧盟执委会在2015年也通过一项决议，是叫 Trade for All。那当时候的那个通过这决议的时空背景是认为我们会通过一个更加全面性的双边投资的这个贸易框架，所以后来签这个双边的投资合作就是水到渠成。不过那是当时候的时空背景。
But we're not going down that road. And the CAI, the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, is dead as a doornail. It was negotiated at the end of 2020. It will never be ratified for obvious reasons. So that is not the route we're taking. And I think when you look at what happens, the insistence on just having a few tools like BIAs or FTAs is a bit out of touch with the time. I think the flexible approach that Taiwan and the United States are taking, or that Taiwan and the UK are taking, with the trade cooperation deals that they are negotiating or have negotiated, is more like it. And that's why, for instance, we have advocated for a resilient supply chain agreement. And I found quite some resonance over here for that idea. And there could be trade facilitation arrangements, or there could be sectoral agreements. And I believe we should not look at that from a dogmatic trade policy point of view, but from a pragmatic, what helps business point of view. And that's why I believe we will be on a better track. And as far as I understand, European Commission, DG Trade, is looking into that.
在2020年底呢，欧盟跟中国呢也开始洽签 CAI。那当然，这个并没有正式的被其他成员国国内法化。那这也不是欧洲愿意采取的发展路线。我们都知道，这原因很简单。那台湾跟美国还有 英国等等其他国家也都开始洽谈 BIA 或是 FTA 等等相关的协议，那这有效促进双边的这个贸易关系。那就像我们刚刚前面所说的，目前欧盟跟台湾正在讨论关于如何打造更具有韧性的供应链。那我认为呢，这个也是一种贸易上的合作。我们不应该一直回头看拘泥于过去，而且我认为呢，我们不该只单纯看这些政策本身，而是要去看我们该做什么事情才能真正实质上有效的帮助双边的企业。那我认为呢，现在我们欧洲的执委会专门负责投资的相关投资总署，目前也正在课政研拟相关的法案来针对这个议题进行研究。
Heidi Hautala will add a few remarks to the trade issue in a minute. I just want to answer your second question before that on arms deals. Democracies, and that pertains certainly to European democracies, can be compared to turtles. They don't move very fast. They don't change the direction suddenly. But once they get moving, they're not easily stopped. And I think we've seen just recently, in the context of Russia's war of aggression vis-a-vis Ukraine, that Europe has changed. My own country has changed. We used to have a very strict policy supported by all the political parties across the spectrum that we would never export arms into a region of tension or conflict. We have changed that policy. We have become, numbers-wise, the second largest arms suppliers to Ukraine, the largest from Europe. And I believe that we will have to look at the new realities of international security in the future. But I'm also not sure that we already know what we will need. I hear a lot of discussions here about asymmetric defense. And I'm not sure that all the nice fighter planes that we have, or all the nice Leopard tanks that we have, that we could maybe sell for a good profit, would be exactly what Taiwan needs. So I think there is an issue that has several elements to that.
那接着我先来回答第二个问题，那我再请我们副议长来补充关于刚刚贸易的议题。那第二个问题是，民主，特别是针对欧洲的民主，我们可以把它想象成是一只乌龟。乌龟呢正在向前爬行，它就不会突然转向，而且乌龟一旦动了起来，它就不会突然停止。那目前呢，我们可以看到，在这个俄罗斯全面进犯乌克兰之后，欧盟特别还有德国的政策呢出现了一些转向。先前呢，我们的对外政策是不会贩卖或是运送任何的武器到战区。不过呢，最近因为这个战争的关系呢，我们已经改变了这个政策。现在呢，欧盟是全世界第2大提供给乌克兰武器的来源国。那同时，我们也是全欧洲最大的支持者。我们德国也是全欧盟最主要的支持者，提供武器给乌克兰。那在未来呢，我们也要意识到这个全球的新的安全事实已经不太一样了。那现在我们还不知道台湾需要什么样子的武器。那我们目前只知道说台湾需要弥补这个不对称战力。那或许台湾会需要一些飞机跟坦克。那我们如果直接把这些武器卖来台湾，当然我们可以有所获益。不过呢，这并不一定是台湾所需要的武器，所以我们必须要多加讨论。
I wanted to add one element to the trade landscape, which also shows that it's changing and it has new opportunities. The European Union has now come up with a very interesting and perhaps challenging wave of legislation dealing with the environmental and human rights, labor rights aspects in supply chains. And this legislation is now virtually there. There will be some lead times, but it's there, and it obliges companies operating in Europe and also non-European companies operating in Europe to make sure that they don't have serious human rights violations and labor rights violations, environmental destructions in their value chains. And I think this is an interesting opportunity for companies producing in Taiwan, because I believe that Taiwan will be able to cope with these challenges.
那我想要补充一下关于刚刚贸易的这个议题。那我们都可以知道，目前的全球贸易状况正在改变，而且呢，也有非常多令人振奋的机会。那欧盟呢，目前正在面临一项相关的立法，是关于对于环境保护还有人权相关的议题，特别是在这个供应链的部分上，那有可能会有一些时间落差。不过呢，我们相关的立法呢，目前都已经差不多到位了。那这个法案内容是关于说，在欧盟的所有公司，不论你是否属于欧盟会员国的公司，你只要在欧盟运营，在整个价值链的过程当中，都必须要对环境保护，而且也是不能违反这个劳动权或是人权。那我相信台湾在这个面向呢，一定可以表现得不错。
Yeah, just one sentence. So if Taiwan will create an enabling business environment in this respect, that respects human rights and environment, it will be more competitive in the European market compared with some other countries that maybe are not able to produce such an enabling business environment.
那最后我再补充一小点，那如果说台湾能够打造一个更加优质的环境，那是更加重视人权，还有注重环境保护，我相信呢，台湾公司在欧盟的市场一定会相对于其他国家的公司来说更具有竞争力。谢谢。
Thank you. The chairman saw someone have question here. The last one goes to Roy.
Thank you very much from M News, Angela. And Chairman, because this trip come from Taiwan, most of your delegation members come from German's Green Party. Could I say your party or even your country are much more willing to engage with Taiwan in a way same was engage with a normal country? Thank you very much. Because most of your delegation members come from German's Green Party, and could I say your party are much more willing to engage Taiwan in a way same was engage with a normal country?
Well, I dare say that the Green Party in Germany, but also the European Greens, are very supportive of Taiwan. But I would also add that this is not just the position of the German Green Party. When you look at the present government of Germany, there's a second party that is also governing, a bit smaller than us, the Liberal Party, which is also very supportive. Nicola Beer, who was mentioned earlier, was from that party. And last year, a minister from the German government visited Taiwan. She was also from the Liberal Party. So we don't want to own the support of Taiwan exclusively. We rather share that with as many other political forces as possible. And my experience in the European Parliament is that we are stronger when we work together. And that is a message which I want to underscore. Taiwan is not a divisive issue between European democratic parties. That's why I say, yes, we Greens support the development, the fruitful development of the relationship, but we're not the only ones.
我必须说，没错，我们绿党其实非常的支持台湾，但这并不单单只是我们德国绿党的这个立场而已。应该说，目前德国政府呢，也都对台湾是相对友好支持的，包含我们德国目前第2大党也是非常支持台湾。就像刚刚说过，前阵子呢，有来拜访台湾的这个副议长 Nicola Beer， 他就来自德国的第2大党。那去年呢，我们德国 政府呢也有许多开始相对比较支持友好台湾的一些做法。那我们并不想要很自私的去说我们是唯一一个支持台湾的政党，我们希望把对于台湾的这个支持与其他的政党一起分享，我们大家呢是共同的支持这个民主阵营，我们只要团结一起就会更加强大。那这也是我想要一直强调的重点。那对于涉台议题上，我们在欧洲是并没有分歧的意见，我们大家一致支持台湾，与台湾站在同一阵线。谢谢。
Yeah, thank you. And due to time restraints, I am afraid I have to conclude this session. So now, at the request of the media friends, I would like to invite all our distinguished guests to rise for a group photo. Okay, thank you. So let me once again thank the delegation for traveling from afar to be with us today. I also want to thank all the media friends to be here with us. Thank you. I wish everyone a good day.